Hello, my friends, and good morning, and welcome to the Space Game Junkie podcast. I, as always, am your co-host, Brian, and joining me, as always, is your co-host, Spaz.
Hello.
And we're doing a morning show because our guest is in Heidelberg, Germany. Calling us all the way from Germany is Benjamin Rommel to talk about his upcoming space exploration and crew management game, Galactic Crew. Welcome, Ben.
Good morning.
And good afternoon to you. It is 3 in the afternoon there. Lucky you.
Yeah, you're right.
6 a.m. for us.
6 a.m. for us. Yeah, we've been doing a lot of these, folks. And while we love it, it does take a toll. I don't know if you can hear how tired I am, but I am so tired. So folks, if you're not aware, Galactic Crew is coming out this Friday. It is inspired by FTL, but it has a lot of unique stuff on its own. So, Ben, for folks who either haven't heard of the game or don't know much about it, give folks like the rundown of what the game is, and also maybe what makes it different from FTL, because there is quite a bit that makes it different. I mean, yes, it's clearly inspired by FTL, but there's also quite a bit that differentiates it as well. So why don't you hit folks with the elevator pitch that hits all that?
Okay. My game Galactic Crew was heavily inspired by FTL, so I keep many style elements of FTL. It's roguelike, that is, if you die once, you are dead, and you have to restart the game by yourself. You are also chased by some sort of undefeatable nemesis in this game. However, I liked FTL very much, but there are so much more elements in space than just combat and just flying around. So I kept important core elements like text-based events, for example, like the chasing by an enemy. Space combat is comparable to FTL. However, I added also new features. For example, you can visit planets, which is, I think, the most important difference between my game and FTL. That is, once you have a teleporter on your ship, you are able to teleport your crew on the other ship to attack their crew and their equipment. But you can also fly to planets and explore them. And there's a pretty wide range of different planets. For example, you can explore some crash site, some ancient civilizations. You can visit mining outposts. And you can also gather resources. For example, you could farm food on a planet. You can mine asteroids in space. So I wanted to keep the popular and well-known elements of FTL, but add my own stuff. So I wanted not to do a three-dimensional clone of FTL, but some sort of further development. So, for example, when you start the game for the very first time, you have only a very small set of options for configuring your game. For example, you can select only one kind of ship. You have only a very limited range of crew members you can have. But once you play the game, you can unlock achievements. And the more achievements you get, the more options you can get for creating new games. For example, you can improve properties, like you make more damage to certain type of enemies. You can get more money for trades, and you can also add completely new game mechanics and unlock new ships, new races. And yeah, I think the planets, the resource management system, and the chance to add new features by unlocking them by playing the game are the most important differences between my game and FTL.
Yeah, I gotta say that while FTL did have like some unlockables, your game really goes all out. I think with FTL, I haven't played it in a while because I can't, because that game gives me a panic attack every time I play it because the characters are named. So like every time one of them dies, I actually like feel horrible. about it, you know. So like, I have a tough time playing games like that and XCOM and whatnot because it's like, no, don't die. Oh no, I feel terrible. But yeah, I think with FTL, all you could do is unlock a new ship if you want a game or something. But with your game, you can unlock all types of crap. Like
Yes.
right now you have two different types of play. You could either be a pirate or you could be a trader.
Merchant.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. But you can also unlock other starting, not just ships, but other starting options. What are some of those? Like I know the one that you get is that you can't be boarded, which is pretty cool. But what are some of the other options you can unlock as you go?
Um, there are some very well-known kind of additions, like you can increase your damage against certain types of enemies. You can get better options in trade. For example, you can get more money. You can harvest resources faster. And at the moment, there are 4 different kind of playable ships, and 3 different types of playable character races. Some lizard-type aliens, some fish-like aliens, and humans, of course. And within the next 4 to 5 weeks, I'm adding twice as much content as now. That is, there will be more planets. There
Oh
will
my
be
god!
4 new four new playable ships, 2 new playable races. That is, for example, there will be some sort of androids, which are already done but need to be adjusted to be playable. And there will be also some ant-like aliens, which look pretty cool in the concept, and I hope they turn out as well as in the concept. Yeah, and I also want to add new type of roles. For example, the merchant and the space pirate generate some sort of threat over time. For example, let's imagine you play as a merchant, and the more money you get, the more you are attracted by pirates. And at some point, you generate too much threat, and nemesis pirates spawn, and they chase you and hunt you down. And there will also be new types of roles. For example, a space explorer, which won't generate any threat. That is, you can just play the game without having in mind, oh my god,
Oh,
I'm being chased by someone. However, these roles need to be unlocked. For example, you played for a few hours and you achieve some achievement. Then you get new ships, new characters to play. You get new options and, of course, new roles and new stuff to keep you motivated.
yeah, which I'm actually excited about because let's be honest, the starting ship is kind of garbage. It's kind of
Yes,
it, it's like
it's extremely small.
it's like the Tarsus in Privateer. You know, just
Yeah, yeah.
just a hunk, just a hunk of
Or
metal.
like the starship in EVE Online, which can do barely nothing.
Oh yeah, that's true. It's true. Yeah, all
Yeah,
could do.
the idea is that the very first ship you are starting with, the Artemis, is a pretty small ship. It has only one single weapon, and it has barely enough room to hold your crew. But the Zeus, the biggest ship at the moment, has 3 weapon turret slots, or many turret slots if you want to mine, and has around, I think, 12 different rooms. And when you are next to a space station, you can retrofit your ship. For example, you can switch pieces of equipment. So, for example, you say, okay, I'm pretty bad in combat. I'm way too weak. So you could replace a reactor, or you can replace teleporter with a shield generator to give you more shields. Or you say, okay, I have way too many rooms for my few crew members. I replace some crew quarters with botanical gardens to generate your own food, for example.
I played around with that a little bit, and I found that as a pirate starting out, the enemies you fight aren't necessarily that tough. You can actually repair faster than they can damage you. So I ended up taking off my shield generator and putting on a teleporter. And then I would use my 2 crew to repair while my captain would fire on the enemy ship and then destroy them. So it worked out very well.
Yes, the peace feature, which prevents the enemy pirates to board your ship, and the very first phase in game before you generate any threat, are pretty peaceful. And once you figured out like you did, how to repair stuff, you can easily survive the first combat. It's no problem. However, the more threat you generate, the tougher your enemy gets. For example, merchants will do way more damage. You will encounter larger and way more dangerous ships. However, the more threat you generate, the more reward you get. For example, if you are on the first or second threat level from the 5 possible levels, you will get around 50% more money and more items from destroying your opponents. However, they are way tougher than before.
And with the Artemis, it's very difficult. I was destroyed with 2 stars on the Nemesis that attacked me, and I couldn't get beyond that. But that's also because I had the starter ship. But with more gameplay, that will become a little bit easier to survive longer.
Yes, it is.
I have to say, I appreciate that one of the unlockables is that you just keep playing. You just play for half an hour, you play for an hour, that sort of thing. I actually appreciate that sort of thing. That's pretty great.
Yeah, at first, the plan was only to have these two kind of roles, that is the merchant and the space pirate, which shared the core game mechanics, but they generate threat in a different way, and they start with different options. However, I got a lot of feedback in the last weeks, and they said, hey, they just want to explore. They don't want to fight against the big ships. They don't want to manage too much. They just want to fly around and explore after their work. And so I'm currently working on the Space Explorer. I don't know when the update will come. I think at the end of October, maybe in the mid of November. There will be a new role called Space Explorer, and it's completely peaceful. That is, you still have space combat and stuff like this, but you won't be chased by Nemesis, and you just can play the game. And there will also be some sort of new content like dungeons, for example. So the Space Explorer can explore more than just space and planets. They can even go underground.
Oh,
I like where this is going.
Wow. Because, yeah, that is one thing. I mean, FTL was a very elegant design game, but they really missed the boat when it came to planets. And
yes,
planets are, like, so many space games just avoid planets in general because, like, they're not easy to do. So, how much complication does that add to add that whole another planet layer of gameplay?
I think it depends on how you develop the game. I did the step and develop my very own game engine, because at first I just wanted to develop a game engine, and at the end I developed a game. But yeah, I started as a hobby in 2014, and after 1 year developing the game engine, I thought, hey, it's becoming pretty cool, and I think I could do an entire game with that. And then I started to develop the game itself in 2015. For me, it wasn't that hard. There's in all games you have some sort of core loop. That is some stuff you always do in a repetition. For example, let's think about Battlefield. You join a server, you fight a battle, you go offline. Or in FTL, you come to a new sector, you select your option, you fight mostly, and then you jump to the next sector. And so you have always your core loop. You are doing all basically 1 or 2 things you're doing all the time. And I need to make sure that the planets are neither too powerful, not too boring. So basically, the stuff you can get on the planet is more than you can get in space. For example, you can get resources very easily, but the time you spend on the planet equals the time you spend on 2 to 4 space missions. So the balancing must fit. And from the graphical point of view, for me, there wasn't much to change in my game engine, because the core elements, like, for example, selecting your crew members, giving commands to crew members like walking, attacking, repairing, healing, resurrecting, and stuff like this, is all the same. I think it's very tough to make planets and space attractive in the same level, because there are so many great games where you survive on planets, like Empyrean, for example. I played for several hours, or Planet Explorers, but they miss space part. And there are also many space games who added later planet content like Space Engineers, but you clearly saw, okay, they had a space game, and they just wanted to add some sort of planet, which didn't turn out very well in some games.
No, it did not.
Yeah, and I wanted to make sure to provide both of them. I think my space is less complex than in many space games, and my planets are way less complex than in most planetary-based games. But I wanted to feature both of it.
No, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. I'm glad both are included. So you said this is your own game engine? Because I was going to ask
Yes,
about that. Let's start with that. When did you start building the engine, and what's it based on? Like C, Java, like.
Okay. I started computer science in Heidelberg many years ago, and there was also a very big fascination for game engines for me. And I developed some really small two-dimensional stuff in the past. And besides my job at a software company, I wanted to do something new, and I developed my own game engine based on the programming language C# and on DirectX. And that's the only two components I'm using. And I started with a very small graphics engine. That is, I rendered some polygons. Then I added some model importer to add models from different file formats. Then comes texturing, shading, and at one point the graphic engine itself was pretty good. I mean, I can't provide a quality like Star Citizen, of course. That's clear. But once the graphic engine was in a very good level, I added the other parts like audio, like content management, and stuff like this. And after 1 year, I had a very good basis for a game. And yeah, that's when I started the development of Galactic Crew itself. So the game engine itself is also further developed. That's my game. And both of them are growing equally at the moment.
That's pretty amazing, because most of the developers we talk to, they'll either use Unity or Unreal for the most part, which, I mean, I'm not knocking them, but I'm sure that making your own engine just adds a level of, not complication, but stress, maybe is the word I'm thinking of. Like, I can't imagine that, with a custom engine, does that make bug fixing easier or harder, do you think?
For me, I prefer working with my own engine, because if I want to add something new, like new effects or like new type of content, I can just do it. For example, I don't have the comfort part where I just can go to the Unity as a store, buy some effect, drag and drop them to my game, and wow, I have amazing effect. I can't do that, of course. But what I can do is I can change everything as I want. And I don't have to check about licenses, like in some engines where you have very strict license restrictions. But I can just do whatever I want. And there are some very nasty downsides with engines like Unity. And for example, the UI is not very easy to do there. And I just can do whatever, any kind of UI I want to do.
Right, and one thing I got to admit, I do like the UI. I do like the UI quite a bit. It's very straightforward, which I really appreciate.
Thank you. Actually, I worked for 9 years for a software company here in Germany before I quit this job and found my own company this year. And my last position in this job was UI designer. So actually, the UI was the first thing that I've done for the game.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's very clean, which I really appreciate. Yes. No, and
yes.
Sorry, go ahead.
I didn't want to put too much effects in it. I just wanted to be clean and simple. It's called the data-rich concept. That is, you should clearly see all your important values. And if you want to have more insight into it, you can put your mouse over an element and you get a tooltip with all the information you want to have.
It's very intuitive.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so folks, if you don't know, yeah, the game allows you to do all sorts of stuff. You can mine asteroids, which is not something you could stop and do in FTL, which I really appreciate because I love mining. I gotta say, you couldn't land on planets. So are there gonna be? I saw there are space stations. Can you? But I didn't really get a chance to play with those. Can you walk around and get out in those as well?
At the moment, there's no type of interaction between space stations. You can retrofit your ship. That is, you can change rooms, layout, and the piece of equipment. And you can trade, of course. But at the moment, there's no other type of interaction. I also want to add shipyards very soon, in a few weeks. So you can buy ships in-game. That is, you don't have to restart a game for getting a new ship, but you can upgrade your ship to a new class in-game.
Oh.
I don't know if I can do it until the end of next week. I'm already working on it, but I think within the next 2 weeks there will be shipyards and other content like taverns where you can recruit new space crew members. But there's no such thing like walking around on space stations at the moment. But one thing that is very important for me are the players. Actually, it's not just a marketing sentence. The players are important for me, but it's actually true. For example, many features which I added are based on feedback from alpha testers. I ran a large alpha test campaign in August and September for around 6 weeks. And many features were added because of the feedback of the players. And that's the main reason I don't release my game as a final product on Friday, but I start my early access campaign. And there will be weekly or 2 weekly polls where players can vote on new content, what they want to have, for example. And then I'm going to edit. And if people want to have space stations where you can walk around, you will get it.
Oh, that's pretty great. So, do you have any kind of idea how long you might plan to be in early access for, or just however long it takes?
Actually, there is a plan. I have some sort of roadmap until the end of the year, what I want to add. And I want to run the early access campaign for at least 6 months. That is until the end of March next year. And I also have to think as a company. And if the sales are better than expected, then I will extend the early access phase to whatever it's required. I plan on running the early access campaign for half a year until the end of March, release the game at the end of March, and if everything works fine and the sales are well enough, then I'm going to continue publishing content updates.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. Yeah, that sounds like a reasonable roadmap. Is that anywhere where players can look at it? Is that like visible to players, the roadmap? A lot of developers do that. That's why I ask.
Not at the moment, no.
Oh, okay, that's fair. I just noticed a lot of developers use like Trello or something to like publicly have their roadmap visible to players, which is I think it's great for transparency, but it also invites criticism. So I don't know. It's like a double-edged sword, like anything else with early access, I guess.
or they put it into their Steam forum as a sticky. That usually works too.
That's a good point. I forgot. Even though we have one, I always forget about the Steam forums. I always forget that Steam is its own basically social network as well as a digital distribution platform. I always forget. So your game
Steam is actually pretty complex, yeah.
Yeah, it so is, and it's just getting more so. Now you have commodities in the game. Is there there's actual? It's not just mining, but there's actual trading. So how does the
yes?
How does the economy work? Is it fully player based? Is it is there a simulation going on in the background? How does that all work?
At the moment, the game is only for single players, I want also to add multiplayer at the beginning of next year, but I want to wait until I have a certain player base, so the players can vote what kind of multiplayer they want to have. If they want to have a competitive multiplayer, that is, you can fly with multiple spaceships on the same map and fight each other, or if you want to have some sort of co-op multiplayer where you can play the different crew members of the same ship, I want to wait with that. At the moment, the game is single player only, and the economy is only local. That is, the stuff you are going to sell or trade is only local for your game, and it doesn't influence any other game.
No, I mean what I meant was how is the economy like? How does the economy move? Is it like do you as the player, do your actions dictate how high a price or lower price is somewhere else, or is there like a background simulation going where how prices are determined basically?
I see. The prices are calculated on a semi-random basis. Your actions do not influence the price. One way to get better prices is by getting the proper achievements and unlocking the bonus cards for getting better prices. But other than that, there are different types of space stations. Some of them offer better deals for agricultural products. Some of them offer better prices for industrial products. So you could also make a fortune by traveling between two space stations and trading goods. But the price itself are stable. They will neither rise nor fall.
Oh, okay. That's actually pretty great because it makes trading a little easier. Are you?
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I was
are
just going to say.
Sorry,
I was just going to say. I spawned as a merchant in my second game, and I had an asteroid field that was directly next to a station. So I just went mining because it was absolutely safe.
Yes.
And with no planets in between, I had no events to worry about. So I just cleared out the asteroid and made tens of thousands in credits because of it.
Nice.
But if you play as a merchant, you should have generated some sort of nemesis.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes, the nemesis came in.
That's the downside. Yeah.
Oh, really? So yeah, explain how the threat mechanic works. It's kind of Grand Theft Auto-y a little bit.
Yeah, the nemesis are not meant to be defeated. So once they appear and they catch up with you, you should be dead. And if not, I have made some balancing mistakes. The idea is that you get some sort of reputation. For example, if you are a space pirate and you destroy too much civilian ships like miners or merchants or science vessels, you generate some sort of reputation as a very strong and notorious pirate, and then bounty hunter ships are going to hunt you down. And it's very similar for merchants. The more money you generate, the more merchants you are going to attract. That is, the pirate events are more likely to come. And at some point, you are generating so much reputation or threat as a merchant that a pirate nemesis ship shows up and tries to follow you.
So how do you can you have your threat go down? Like if you just stop making money for a while? I mean, or is there a way to manage that? Like or does it just go up and up and up and up and up?
At the moment, at the current state of the game, it just goes up. However, some players suggested that I should add some sort of quest system. For example, once you start a game, you get your very first task. So you can just fly around and do everything like you are doing now. But if you solve some sort of tasks, you get a reward. For example, you get a new piece of equipment, or for example, you could reduce your threat. And I think I'm going to implement this within the next weeks. So let's say you are a pirate and you destroyed some sort of other pirates, or let's say you killed a bunch of very notorious pirates. So you did something good, and then you can reduce your threat level again. Something like this. I'm still working on the concept, but I think this will be added within the next within the next weeks.
Oh, okay, that's super exciting because I love quests and missions in games like this, and the fact that you're adding them just makes me so happy. Now, do you get those randomly, or can you go to like a space station and pick them up? How
Um,
does the player get quests?
at the moment, there are events which are semi-randomly generated when you jump to a new system. And besides these events, I want to add quests which are global. That is, they are independent from your current location. And some quests will be fixed. For example, I think the emergent or the space file will start with the same base quest or base task, and once you complete a task, the next task will depend on your previous actions. And maybe you can also get new quests, additional quests on space stations. Like I said before, I wanted to add some sort of a tavern menu for the space stations so that you can recruit new crew members. At the moment, there are different ways to get them. For example, when you find this crash site, you have a chance to get a new crew member, or by getting certain events, you can also add new crew members to your ship. But with Space Tavern, you might buy new quests or new crew members. Like a little bit like in the very old Pirates games.
Okay, that's pretty awesome. I have to admit because like I said, one of the things that bugged me about FTL, and I hate to down talk FTL. It's an amazing game, but like you only had basically one objective, ultimately, besides survival.
Yes. Yes.
Your one objective was to get to the mothership and kill it, and that was it. And I mean that's great, but I like doing other things. I like oh, maybe this guy needs a ride, or maybe to another planet, or maybe this person needs a package delivered, or maybe this person I don't know, needs a message delivered or something. Like, so just like, I don't know if you've played 3030 Death War Redux.
No.
It's another top down kind of escape velocity type game, but it's just full of missions where you can do stuff like that.
Okay.
And I love stuff like that. I love like little mini objectives.
Or Space Rangers.
Or Space Rangers, yeah. Space
Mhm.
Rangers, you go to a planet and they give you like take this cassette tape to this planet. So yeah, I'm really glad to hear that side objectives and missions are coming. That's super exciting for me.
I'm also a very big fan of quests, and I spent some semester holidays a few years back was playing EverQuest 2. And when there's one thing in EverQuest 2, it's quests. You have them everywhere. And yeah, I love it.
Wait,
Walk
what?
around doing quests and hmm?
Oh wait, what were you saying? What's the thing in EverQuest 2?
Oh, sorry. Um, there's one thing in EverQuest 2 that is there are everywhere quests. You can do whatever you want. You run into new quests.
Yeah.
And I kind of enjoyed it. It never was some sort of grind, but you just walked around. Oh hey, new quest. Oh hell, look at there, new quest.
Yeah, I agree. Like my drug of choice is Lord of the Rings Online, and it's the same.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, look at all these quest givers. Zippity doo dah. I just have a to do list of things to kill and gather, and I'm fine with that. Just tell me where to go and what to do. I'm good with that. Just let me run around this world a bit. Yeah.
And then you're extremely happy. Oh, I solved all my quests. Let's go to the next town.
Yeah.
Oh, quests. Yeah, quests everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just, it scratches. I can't fully explain the itch it scratches, but there's some kind of, it's not even achievement. It's just like I did something. I got a little something accomplished. Even if it's kill 10 crabs and farm their claws or something mundane like that. It's just, you spend time in that world, you want to feel like you did something,
Yeah.
So
Right.
so that is great because it's always it's sometimes weird when you run into a game like this and there are no side objectives at all. That's just a little like FTL, I guess, where it's just like you did something at this planet and that's a totally self-contained thing. It doesn't relate to anything else. Just move on now. But this is a whole universe. Like, what if there's a person on that planet that say needs to visit their mom on another planet, and I have an extra like crew cabin that I could take them in. You know, like why not? You know, give me stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or
also,
maybe that person happens to be a fugitive and they're trying to get away.
Yeah.
And they don't tell you they're a fugitive. So by taking them on, you end up getting the authorities upset with you. So they send another ship and that sort of thing. So it could lead to another quest line in that way.
That sounds amazing.
When creating the game and the concept about this, one thing I always had in mind was the television series Stargate, which I really enjoyed back then, because the universe is way more than just space. Space is barely empty. There are just a few planets, there are moons, but it's mostly empty. But the planets itself, they are so rich, they are so different, with different type of races, different type of civilizations and their technology. And my resources are limited compared to large projects like Statisten, for example. But I want to provide some sort of feeling that you can really explore a galaxy and all its planets and to really find new stuff. Where you sit and think, oh, hey, that's great, that's new.
Yeah. And can you in your game can you ignore quests if you want to, or are they just thrust upon you?
Most quests or events can be turned down. For example, you can let's say you meet a merchant and you can decide, okay, I attack it, I trade with him, I do some other stuff, I talk to him, or I just fly away. The only thing that you can't easily escape are pirate events. When you are attacked, you have a chance to flee. There is a certain chance where you can successfully flee from such encounter, but all other tasks can be dismissed. So you can just fly around if you want.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, one thing I did with FTL is there was a mod where you could actually turn off the fleets chasing you and all that, and make it like a pure exploration game. Like there's no time, there's no rush, there's no one chasing you. Just jump from sector to sector as you will. And I like that your game has that option as well.
Yep.
You know, I really appreciate that, because sometimes you don't want to fight. Sometimes you just want to make money. You know, sometimes you just want to fly around and explore planets and stuff, which I really think is great. And it's funny, I was looking at the I haven't landed on a planet yet, but I gotta say the planet graphics remind me of an older like RPG adventure game called, I think it's Dink Smallwood. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, I know it. Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah, I didn't know, because that came out in like the late 90s, early 2000s, and I think it was either free or really cheap, but it had all these editors, and I think you can still play it. It's pretty great.
I think I got it on a CD of a gaming magazine back then.
Oh, really? That does not surprise me at all. But yeah, so yeah, I like how your engine can handle both space and planet stuff. Now, you're saying the planet stuff takes a lot longer to accomplish than the space encounters. There's just more of a planet. Is it just there's more stuff to gain? Like how does that work out?
Okay, the thing is, if you are in space and you generate a new event, then there's basically one single decision you are doing. For example, okay, I want to trade, and then for 1 or 2 minutes you trade with the merchants, switching items and goods. or you would choose to attack. A combat normally takes around 1 to 2 minutes, for example. But if you walk around on the planet, you need to explore where the resources are, where the merchants are. So there is no simple decision like, okay, I attack, or okay, I want to trade, or I want to select this option. But you have to explore, actually, the planet. So you need to move around, look for resources, look for merchants, look for quests, and this process takes longer.
Oh, that makes sense.
It does. I had that experience landing on a planet and talking to some traders. So I was able to get rid of some of the cargo that I'd looted.
Yeah, for example, if you are lucky and find one of the ancient civilizations, there are big fields of medical goods, and there is a very big farming field in north. And if you loot all the food and all the medical goods, you get around 50 to 60 units of food and around 20 units of medical goods, which is really valuable, and you can survive very long with these goods. However, it takes around 15 to 20 minutes to find all of them. So basically, you can invest more time, but then in space events, but you get more in return. In return, or
It's
let's
a
say
time investment, but it's
yes,
worth
right.
it because you're actually getting something tangible that is more than just a quick encounter.
Yeah. Or for example, there is one type of planet mission where you land on a very apocalyptic place with a lot of raiders, and you have to defeat them, which is really difficult because they're pretty tough. But once you defeated them, you have access to around, I think it was around 20 or 30 barrels of weapons, barrels of chemicals, and crates of weapons, and they're really highly valuable. So you need a lot of crew management. There is a lot of combat, but once you have done all these things, you can loot a lot of stuff. And I try to balance that you get basically the same amount of reward on planets than space, but since planets are more time consuming than space events, the reward is bigger.
It makes total sense.
That's pretty awesome. I really like that. That sounds really well thought out, which I really appreciate. So how big? Because it looks like there are in the galaxies like what, around 100 places to go, planets, asteroid fields, and space stations. Is that right? Like, how big can the galaxies get in your game?
At the moment, the size of the galaxy is almost static. The galaxy is randomly generated, but when you start a new game, but the number of planets, space stations, and asteroid fields will always be similar. At the moment, there are 5 different types of planets to explore, and they are mixed between all the other space events. But more of them will follow. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with Space Explorer if I increase the map size so that you can discover different parts of the galaxy. I'm thinking about it at the moment, but at the moment the galaxy is fixed.
Yeah, and how many places in the galaxy would you say there are? Because my rough guesstimate would be around 100, or it looked like there were around 100 different places to go. Like, but what is like the number of places it generates per game?
I need to look inside my code, but I think it was around something like 120. I think, including the space stations and asteroid fields. Yeah.
That seems plenty big, because you got. I mean, you need fuel and energy and food to get to all these places, and you don't like. Just about every game I've had, I've starved my crew to death because I've run out of food.
Yeah.
Because your game is mean. Your game is mean. And I ran out of food. I was sad.
Actually, food and energy resources are the biggest difficulty if you fly with the starter ship. Once you have upgraded to the next bigger ship, the Aurora class ship, it has more rooms, and you can easily turn one of the rooms or 2 of them into a botanical garden. And each botanical garden generates 3 food per room per jump. So, for example, if you have a crew of 3 crew members and 1 botanical garden on your ship, you don't need any food anymore.
Man.
And And if you have, for example, more botanical gardens than you need, let's say you have your captain and you have 2 crew members, but you have 2 rooms of botanical gardens. So you generate 6 food and medical herbs per jump, and you jump 10 sectors. You generated 30 food, which you can sell at the next space station.
That's a little mean to new players that they don't have that option.
But you can always buy food at a station, or
That's
if you
true.
have an event on a planet, you can talk to a trader, and they always sell food. So
now what happens?
There are ways around that.
I guess I haven't found one yet because I keep dying. Now what happens when you run out of energy? I haven't had that happen because I always run out of food, but I've not run out of energy. Do you die then as well, or do you get stuck and have to call for help, like an SOS? Like, what happens when you run out of energy?
At the moment, you can lose your game by running out of energy crystals. That is, you are stuck and you're lost, because space is a really, really big place. And if you got stuck somewhere, you are basically dead. You can lose the game by having no food at all. Your crew simply starves to death. And other options are, for example, you are defeated in combat, like by Nemesis ships, or you have really, really bad luck with your enemy ships in events. Yeah, and the fourth option is that you get boarded by some enemy, and they kill all your crew members.
Which is why you should always use the peace option, so they don't board you.
Yeah. Actually, I didn't have this option at first, but the very first feedback I got from alpha testers was the first combats with pirates were too stressful for them, because the pirates boarded their ship, and I said, okay, yeah. So for new players, I added this peace option, so you have just base combat without any boarding.
Yeah, I have to say I appreciate that, because I think I too would be highly stressed out if I had to deal with fighting a ship and bad guys on the ship itself. Now, you say that eventually you can board other ships. Can you steal those ships and sell them, or upgrade, take parts maybe and upgrade your own? Like, or is it just kill the crew members and run off? Like, how does that work?
At the moment, it is a second option to damage their equipment. You can disable the enemy ships by destroying 1 or 2 pieces of their equipment. For the small ships, for large ships, you will need to destroy more pieces of equipment before they are disabled. And when you board the enemy ship, you have the possibility to damage their items further. For example, you use your weapon turrets to fire on an engine, and you can board the ship with your crew and fire on their shield generator, for example. But there are also going to be new types of quests very soon. I'm actually working on them. I'm waiting for a few models from my artist. But at the end of October, so in around 3 to 4 weeks, I want to add a new kind of space event where you encounter lost ships. And these ships might be either completely empty, and you can just board your team over there, and there are loot crates to loot, and it's just easy. However, there might be also the slight possibility that there are zombies or monsters on it, which inhabited this lost spaceship, and then you have to defeat them before you can get the loot crates. At the moment, it's just boarding and helping you to destroy the enemies, but there will also be a new type of space quest to increase the variety of quests in space.
Oh, that sounds fantastic, because we all love raiding hulks, monster-ridden hulks, for loot.
Yes, we do.
Whatever game, whether it's Space Beast, Terror Fright, or Starfleet Armada, we love finding monster-filled hulks and just raiding them.
There's actually a pretty amazing novel about Star Wars. I forgot the title, but there is a small rebel gunship flying through deep space, and they encounter a lost Star Destroyer. And they're extremely happy because they think they can board the enemy Imperial Star Destroyer and capture them for the Rebel Alliance. But as soon as they boarded, they had to find out that the crew was infected by a virus, and the entire Imperial Star Destroyer is filled with Stormtrooper zombies. It's a pretty cool novel.
Oh God. Oh God, that sounds terrifying. Zombies scare Zombies scare the crap out of me. Like so that sounds absolutely terrifying. But I wonder if they become zombies, can they shoot better? You know, like I wonder if they could actually.
Maybe their accuracy would go up.
Yeah, I wonder if they could actually hit things when they become zombies. Oh,
Only stormtroopers could be this accurate. Yeah, right.
Yeah. Like really? Like what? No, they're not. But we didn't know that when he first said that. We were like, "Ooh, stormtroopers, they're precise." And you find out later.
However, the stormtroopers hit pretty well in the latest movie in Rogue One.
That's true.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. They did do a little better. I think they were tired of getting crapped upon by everyone. So like, fine, let's let the stormtroopers hit people.
Yeah.
Of course, they fight against red shirts. They fire at red shirts and miss, and the red shirts die anyway.
Yep.
That's true. So you said you have an artist working with you. How many people in total are working on this game right now?
I am the only full-time developer on the game, but I'm working together with a bunch of freelancers. For example, I worked together with some voice artists a few weeks back to record all the voices for the game. They're custom-made, or there are artists for doing the character models for me, because I know how to program and how to develop a game, but I'm extremely bad in graphic design, and 3D is even worse. So I hired people to do these models for me. Some models are from stock. For example, some piece of the interior, like a computer or a trash bin or a bed or locker, I bought these in online stores, but the rest were made by artists I hired, like the spaceship models, character models, the new creature models that are going to come soon. Yeah, they are custom made.
So wait, so you can, even though your engine is a custom engine, you could still add external art assets and whatnot to it?
Yes. Actually, the biggest part of engine development was not to show graphics in a good way. The most time-consuming part in creating this engine was to support all modern file formats. Like there are pretty popular format called FBX, and FBX can store basically everything: 3D models, entire scenes, camera movements, animations. And however, the documentation on this system is not that good, to say it in a very positive way. And it took me around 400 hours to support this file format.
Oh my God.
And it's only one of many. To make animation happen in the game was not that hard, but to get all the animation data from the different file formats, that was pretty hard. But at this point, I'm able to read basically any kind of file format for 3D model animation and stuff. Just put it in the game, and I have some sort of content pipeline where I can put basically something in it, and then I get my own file format at the output, which I'm going to use for the game.
That's amazing. So I guess that begs the question: will you allow users to modify the game as well once it goes live? Will you allow them to like import their own models and stuff like that?
Actually, if there are people who are interested in modding the game, I want to provide a specific interface where they can easily add new quests or content like this. I don't have a problem with modding. I think many games are only successful because of modding, like Minecraft, for example.
Yeah.
Or other games. And I think modding and the Steam Workshop is a great opportunity, because there are many creative people out there and they want to create new content. They want to participate in some form in the game. And if enough players want to have modding in my game, I will provide an interface where they can easily add new stuff. Yeah.
See, that's great, because like my favorite game is Free Space 2. And one of the reasons it still lives on to this day is because it's so moddable, because it's a source code was released. So I'm I'm always a huge proponent of modding, so I'm really happy that you're gonna, if they want it, and they probably will. I mean, come on, people are gonna want that. I'm really glad that you're gonna allow people to mod their own stuff into it, because that'll definitely give it legs. I mean, yeah, everything's
I think so.
yeah, everything's randomly generated and all that, and that kind of thing will definitely give replayability. But being able to have people add their own quests and ships and whatnot, that'll give it a huge amount of appeal. I think. I think that might help sell it better when people realize they can tweak it to their own, their own desires, which will be great. That's awesome.
I think adding new quest or space events, which are basically text-based, I think that should be pretty easy. But to support all kind of different files and models and scale them in the proper way to fit into the game might be difficult. And I think I would postpone such thing until the end of the year or until the beginning of next year.
Well, sure.
Because that takes really... Because in order to provide the players the ability to create new planets, you must have some sort of level designer. And without a solid level designer, people won't have the chance or the possibility to create new levels.
Yeah, that sounds like something that could even wait till post-release. I think if you told people it was coming, but I want to get the game done, and I want to make sure it works, and then once it's done, I could work on the tools. That, I mean, to give you to make it your own. That seems perfectly reasonable. That doesn't sound like something you need to get done pre-launch, even.
Yeah. I at one point I will be finished with the game. I think I know after the end of the early access campaign, or maybe in a year or two, and I want to create a solid level design tool for my next project. And I think I can add it as a mod for Galactic Crew, so people can create their own planets and their own stuff, or their own spaceships.
That's amazing. So wait, you already have your next project in mind after this one?
I have plenty of ideas, but at the moment I'm strictly focusing on Galactic Crew, and I will develop it for at least 6 months during the early access campaign. And once the campaign is over in 6 to 9 months, I might continue my work on the game. But I think at the mid of next year, I should start thinking about the future project.
Well, that seems totally reasonable.
That's fair.
Yeah, that's totally reasonable. And that actually sounds like a really healthy early access campaign length, especially if you're clear about it with users, like on your Steam forums and whatnot.
Yeah.
Because I have found that it seems like the best early access campaigns are the ones with the most transparency, and the ones with the most where the developers are the most communicative with the fans. So
yeah, and I also want to bring some trust back to early access. I started a poll a few weeks back on Reddit, where I ask how people decide what kind of games people are going to buy. Or let's say if they buy a PC magazine, say, oh yeah, I need to buy this game. Or if they see an online ad, because at the moment I'm extremely busy with marketing campaigns, and I want to know how people decide what kind of game they are buying. And a lot of players wrote, it doesn't matter how well the early access campaign is. They wait for finally released games, and they never will buy any early access game anymore, because they want to wait until a game is completely done, and they want to see how the reviews are at that point of time, and then they will decide whether this game is suitable for them or not. And I bought some games by myself in an early access state, which turned out not very well. So I
or
can
abandoned. In some cases, they get abandoned.
Yes. I don't want to call any names, but I once bought a game in the very first weeks after their release, and they made a pretty amazing first version of the game, where you can build a base and defend against aliens. And they wanted to add piece by piece something like Minecraft, but in a more beautiful alienated world. And I was thinking, hey, this game has pretty big potential. Okay, I have all content visited within 1 hour, but if they put on online updates on a regular basis, it will be awesome. And 2 weeks after lunch, there was a big announcement. Yeah, thank you very much for your success. We are moving our company to a new location in London, in central London, and so we will be able to publish any updates in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And I thought, okay, they are successful. They made some money. They are moving to central London, which is pretty great and pretty expensive. And then they will continue to work. However, as it turned out, the developers had a problem that the sales in the first 4 weeks were pretty good, but after that, they dropped dramatically. And then they had an office in central London, and they didn't have an income. So they ditched the project after a few weeks. I fully understand why people don't trust early access anymore. And I also know that it doesn't matter how well I do my early access campaign, I can't reach all players. So and this reason I want to run this campaign for at least half a year, so I can add more content and that people have the chance to play it. And after the final release, I want to continue publishing updates, not on a weekly basis, but maybe on a monthly or 2 weekly basis, but to reach the players who are not willing to buy early access games and they want to wait for a finished game.
Well, when people see updates, when they look at a store page and they see, oh, this is how long ago the last patch was released, and it's every few weeks or
Yep.
once a month, they see that, then that gives them a bit more confidence. And I've noticed that as well. It's influenced my buying decision in several cases.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
I think it's enhanced Steam now that'll tell you when the last time a game was updated, like right on the Steam page. And it's really handy because, like, you'll go to a game, it's like, this hasn't been updated in 2 years. You know? But you'll go to another page, this was updated a week ago. Oh.
And I think that benefits me very well because if I go to my own Steam page, which still feels pretty amazing and strange at the same time, I can see the list of my announcement of and of my updates, and you can clearly see I'm pushing updates once a week for 5 weeks now, and I'm going to continue this. And I think if people see there is regular updates and the reviews are good, I hope, then it's worth a buy.
Yeah,
that just ties into transparency.
Yeah, totally. Yes. But I don't know about you guys, but whenever I look at what Steam downloaded today and what it updated, I always look at the view news thing, the little view news thing in the download link.
Yeah.
Just to see what, like, ooh, it's like Christmas. Is there a new mode? Is there a new fix? What's going on? It's so exciting. So I love that.
However, there are a few games and all the daily list are bug fixes. And the game is, let's say, 5 to 6 years old. And you think, okay, they updated some bug fixes. Okay, yeah, that's nice. And then you go back a week. Oh, hey, even more bug fixes. And then you go back. Oh, bug fixes. And then you have to search for a very long time to find some new content.
But that's great though, because I'll tell you, there are some times where I'll like buy a game and then play it for a week and then like move on to something else because I have severe gaming ADD. And then I'll see that, oh look, there's an update for it in Steam. What did they add? I'm gonna play this again right now. Yeah. Like it reminds me that I own it and that I should play it. So I love that. So I love constant updates. Even if it's every month, even if it's every few weeks, that's fine. That's great. You know, love it. Like, I love looking at Steam every day and go, ooh, what got updated? Ooh. Every day it's like Christmas.
On the other hand, there are times where they will put out some new update, but then they won't post an announcement as to what was updated.
I hate that.
And then you're left wondering.
I hate that.
What the hell did they do?
Like, I hate, like, oh, there's a 1.5 gigabyte update for this game. What is it? And there's, like, no news about it or nothing. And then you go to their forum, and there's no thread about the fixes or whatever. Like, I think a game just got out of early access that I own, and, like, there was a 500 megabyte patch. And, like, there was no news about what it fixed. So someone asked in the forum, like, what is this fix? And the developer's like, oh, you know, bug fixes and new additions. It's like,
stuff.
no, I want to know exactly what you did here. I am fascinated by that.
Actually, I had the same experience by myself today because at the moment the game is only owned by YouTubers and streamers like you are, or some people from the press or friends of mine, of course. But I got a bug report yesterday evening, and he said, "Hey, the game doesn't start on my PC." And so I looked into the code, and I found a possible source of this problem, but it only could cause on very old operating systems. And but I made a short patch and sent it by email and said, "Oh yeah, great, it works." And then I deployed this small patch this morning without any announcement. And then I got a few emails from YouTubers. "Hey, what was the patch? What was it? What was it?"
Exactly.
It was only around 100 kilobytes, and I wanted to add the news in the tomorrow's patch, but yeah, apparently I have to write everything down.
We are a very demanding lot, us gamers.
Yeah.
Very, very demanding.
I thought it's a 100 kilobyte patch, only really required for people running Windows XP or
oh my god,
Windows 7 SP1. And so the hotfix is only important for a very, very few set of gamers. So I didn't write an announcement this morning, but yeah, apparently I have to do so.
That's amazing. Yeah, because I do a little thing on my blog every day about what's been going on in space gaming news, and a lot of times I'll be like, this game included a patch which does this and this and this, and if like the developer doesn't say what a patch does, like I can't tell my readers what it did. So it's like, okay, but it's also like we love to see how the sausage is made. Like we're as gamers, we are so spoiled right now. In so many ways, we are so spoiled. Like there's so many. I hate to say this, but so many gamers seem entitled these days, and I'm like, sir, why don't you go back to 1990, where if you wanted a patch for Red Baron, you had to mail into Sierra and ask them to mail you a floppy disk, and it didn't include a README file. It didn't include like what it was in the patch. You just got a goddamn floppy. Install this and shut up.
I know in the late 90s, I bought myself Fallout 2, a really large box with a large manual, the CD with the game on it. And the first thing I did was I sat down and I read the manual.
Yes.
No one reads manuals today anymore.
Oh, I love reading manuals. I will buy old, like you can download games on Abandonware, older games, but there are a lot of games I will buy on eBay for the manual. Like I have to have the manual if there is one. So
actually, I like to buy and collect old PC games in their original boxes on flea markets.
Oh God, I love doing that. Yes. Even if it's just the disc, I'm like, ooh, I'll just take that. I'll take that. Even if the manual is like a CD insert, like that's fine. I love flea markets and yard sales so much.
I think today it's easier for game developers to distribute their games, like myself. I can put it on Steam and maybe on some other platforms in the near future, which makes distribution pretty easy, and I don't need a publisher, so I can do anything on my own. It's a lot of work, but I can do it. But if I look back in the late 90s, for example, you must have a publisher. You need to create the box. You need to press the CDs. You need to print the CD cover. There is so much work to do in the late 90s for publishing a game than today, which makes it pretty easy. But I have to admit that I miss some of the old stuff. For example, like buying Baldur's Gate and having a real map on your table. And you can see, okay, I am here, and then I'm walking over there. Yeah.
Yeah,
I
mean,
remember many years ago, my family bought a copy of Ultima 3 for our Atari 800 XL, and that came with a nice cloth map.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
it wasn't large, but it was just very nice to have.
Yeah, like I think a while back I bought Return to Zork, or it was a graphical Zork adventure game, and inside the box included not only a map but like some crystals and a little like one of those little tie bags,
Yep.
like Crown Royal bag type thing, and it's just I miss those tchotchkes, you know, those little things that they would just like. It was kind of like a small thank you gift, like thank you for buying our game. There aren't a lot of people buying games right now, so here's some extra crap.
And these days, you have to spend $100 on a collector's edition.
Oh my god!
To get things like that included.
But I think I would pay some additional bucks for getting a figurine, or for getting a map, or for getting something else. But one thing I really don't like these days are this huge bunch of DLCs that in order you have to experience the full game, you need to pay not only the base price, but only DLCs, season pass, and I hate it. And this was my main motivation for my achievements. Like back in days on Street Fighter or Tekken, you could unlock more stuff by playing the game. And I just wanted to bring this stuff back. That is, okay, you want more content? Sure, play the game. And not, you want more content? Hey, I have a wonderful DLC for you. Nah.
Yeah, I don't mind if it's like if the DLC is almost like on an expansion level. Like I think that's what like Endless Legend, for example, their DLC are like, those are hefty, like those are like old school expansions, you know.
Blood and Wine from The Witcher.
What was that one?
Blood and Wine from The Witcher 3.
Oh right, yeah. I still need to play through those.
That's totally fine. But let's say you play a very well-known shooter, and they bring out 4 new maps and a new gun, and you have to pay $10. No.
Yeah.
No.
That's kind of why I love Titanfall. That's one of the reasons I love Titanfall 2, is because they've been they learned from the mistake of the first one, and all their DLC has been free, which has just been wonderful.
DICE also announced that they want to remove all DLCs from the second Battlefront,
which is smart.
Yeah,
because you're just slicing up your player base if you have paid DLC, you know. So it just makes total sense. If you're, I mean, no, and who wants to buy spend $100 for a season pass of something, you know, and the game?
Yeah.
Like, isn't that what the first one was? Like, if you wanted the whole game with the season pass, it was like $100 some or something like that.
Yeah, pretty much.
So stupid.
I mean, big companies have a really large budget and really large costs for all these developer teams and marketing teams and press and stuff like this, and they have way higher costs than me, of course, and they need way more money to run their business than me, of course. But I think that the big companies should be able to pay their bills when they just release a $60 game, and that's it. And maybe an expansion pack with a really large amount of content for another 10 or $20. But I don't think it's financially necessary to publish small DLCs, adding very tiny features, like, for example, a well-known strategy game where you can buy additional civilizations for a few bucks, and I think, no, it's just new skins.
Yeah.
It doesn't add anything.
Or another well-known strategy game where you can spend a few bucks to buy some songs, or some unit graphics.
Yep.
It's like, can you just sell me all the songs in one go, or like make a soundtrack? I'll buy a soundtrack. I don't want to buy DLC with like 3 songs in it. Just let me buy a soundtrack. Can you do that? No? Fine. Like, you're leaving money on the table, not selling me a soundtrack. Seriously. Like, I would buy your soundtrack. Don't DLC me out of your market with like 3 tracks here and 2 like, no. That's not how. No. Anyway, we could gripe about that all day, but we should start wrapping up. So Ben, I want to thank you for taking the time to talk to us about your game. You're planning to release it on Friday, right? Which is the
Yes.
29th, I believe. So,
Yeah.
folks, the game is Galactic Crew. It is inspired by FTL, but it also has a lot of its own flair, a lot of its own level, a lot of its own levels to it. Like not like actual. There are actual levels to it, but like it has its own layers, you know. And do you know what the price is going to be?
Yes, the game will be sold in the United States for 19.99.
Okay, that's fine. That's a fine price for this. So yeah, folks, in the United States at least, it's going to come out on Friday for $19.99. Is there going to be like a launch discount or anything, like 10% or anything like that?
No,
Oh,
actually
okay,
not.
that's totally fine. It doesn't need to be. But yeah, I mean, there right now, even at this
But
early state,
actually,
folks, there is quite a lot to do. Sorry, go ahead.
there is a way to get a free copy of it.
Oh,
Because I'm going to start a giveaway action on IndieDB, that the indiedatabase.com,
right.
and it will start on Friday. And the first 100 people get a free copy.
Oh, so folks, IndieDB, right? That's what you said,
Yes,
IndieDB.
yes.
Yeah, IndieDB. Go there on Friday to get a. Hang on, I'll put a link in the chats here. Yeah, Galactic-Crew. There it is. Found it. Yeah, go there, folks. Right there. Put in the thing, and you can get a free copy of the game. But yeah, it's also going to be sold for $19.99 on Friday. And folks, even at this early stage, it's fun. I'm just going to admit it is a bit buggy. It crashed for me a lot. But maybe it's because I'm on Windows 7, like you said. I don't know. But I know you're working on it. I know you're going to fix that.
Yeah.
So I'm not worried about it. But folks, it's really fun. It has more. I feel like it has more depth to it than FTL, because it has mining. Y'all know how much I love mining. It's got mining. I love mining.
If you like roguelike and
Yeah.
space exploration,
Yeah.
this hits very well on both. And after an hour and a half of gameplay, I can safely recommend it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, easily. So, folks, just a couple of programming notes to wrap up. We have a lot coming up, actually. Thursday, it's board game night, so we're going to be playing Sentinels of the Multiverse, which I'm sure I will suck at, but Spaz will be a very good teacher, as he always is with board game nights. We're having a special event on Saturday morning at 7 o'clock Pacific time. We are going to be talking and playing with the developers of Eve Valkyrie Warzone, the title of this game. I always want to call it Eve Online Valkyrie, which it isn't. Eve Valkyrie Warzone. We're going to be talking to the developers of that and playing against them in multiplayer. So that'll be probably hilarious. And then next Tuesday on the podcast, we are going to be welcoming the developer of Interstellar Transport Company, which is a game currently in early access that is very Space Bucksian in a good way. So that's next week on the show. But Ben, again, thank you so much for taking the time to come on in the middle of your afternoon to talk to us about Galactic Crew. It's a very good game, folks. Very intriguing. A lot going on, and there's even going to be more to come throughout its early access.
Get you back.
Yeah,
we'll get you back after launch.
Exactly. We'll definitely have you back
Yeah.
after launch, probably early mid next year. So can't wait to see how the game matures over the next several months. And definitely check it out, folks. Thank you so much for watching. And don't forget, if you haven't subscribed, I don't say this a lot, but if you haven't subscribed or liked or anything, please do that. Please follow, like, subscribe. And we also have a Patreon. Just throwing that out there. We have a Patreon, and if you want to see my ugly mug on videos, that's a goal for Patreon. That's, I think, our next goal is to get a camera, because they're not cheap, especially good ones. So yeah, just if you haven't already, follow, subscribe, check us out on Discord. We're very active there. But yeah, thanks for watching, everyone. Ben, thanks for hanging out. Spaz, thanks as always for being a co-host. And we'll see you all next time, folks. Have a good one. Bye.
Goodbye.